What is up with YouTube? But it's starting off with a challenge, which is a great header to coming into tonight's topic.
Right, like 2 minutes before our broadcast, or 15. I had 15 minutes warning. YouTube kind of goes down for our normal way of live streaming, saying their quota's reset at midnight. What quota? We don't have a quota for live streaming. Thank you, YouTube. So, okay, I think, can people hear us? People see us.
Yes, unfortunately, the camera that we're planning to use with a microphone would not connect with YouTube, so we're using the iPhone, which Chris didn't charge today, so we can't use our directional mic and charge it at the same time. Technology. People keep asking us to do like gimbals and better microphones. It's like all this stuff breaks and it never works when you need it. We want simplicity for these things.
Yes.
Sounds like we're okay. Good. Okay.
Yeah, the built-in microphone should be fine at this closeness with no wind, so we should be doing okay.
Hopefully.
Technology. Okay.
So anyway, happy holidays. We just got some garland. All right.
And, well, so this is the perfect setup. Dealing with challenges on the road, including tech challenges, are common. We're going to talk about some of the more harder, bigger, deeper challenges too in just a minute. But who are we?
Yeah, are we ready to start? Because I'll start the archivey thing here.
Oh, I think this is appropriate. This all belongs in the archive. Challenges.
Challenges. They're
Okay.
out there. Anyway, I'm Cherie.
I'm Chris.
And we're also known as Technomadia.
We've been online doing this traveling thing for over 11 years now.
Almost a dozen. You realize you're coming up on your
Coming
dozen?
up on my 12th nomadiversary. Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not quite yet. I'm not that old. So yeah, and we come online and try to share some of our experiences that we've gathered a lot of experiences, some positive, some negative, and just a lot of different adventures over our years on the road, and we'd like to share with other people some of what we've learned.
So life on the road is not a full-time vacation. I don't think any of our content recently has conveyed that because we've had some pretty big challenges since September.
Like a hurricane?
Like a hurricane, like hitting a channel marker, being in the yard for a while. But life on the road normally isn't all challenges, so don't get discouraged. This is not normal. But also life on the road is not full-time vacation, rainbows and rainbow farting unicorns and all that sort of stuff.
But if you have the right attitude and you go into it the right way, the challenges and the bumps in the road or the bumps in the water can actually become part of the adventure, and certainly they make for good stories years down the road.
Absolutely.
Too, so.
I mean, how interesting is the story of today everything went perfectly fine and it was beautiful sunsets. I mean, that makes a great photo for Instagram, but the stories you remember by, the challenges that you have on the road, those are the things you tell when you're having happy hour cocktails with friends.
Right. And again, you don't want to have nonstop you don't want your life to be a lesson to others of what not to do, but you do. They're learning experiences, they're adventures, they're just part of the trip. It's part of the journey, and if you embrace it that way, it actually can be kind of fun, sort of sometimes.
Fun may be a stretch of the word, but you can turn lemons into lemonade.
Yeah.
Do you remember like one of the very first stops we made as a couple when we first hit the road? It was in Tallahassee. Mm-hmm. It was with a couple that had just come off the road. They were traveling in like a little microbus. This is like back in 2007. And it was when we got invited to stop in it. They had settled down. They decided they wanted a land base. And I remember one of the stories they told us is the most memorable experience they had on their year on the road was when they broke down in a little podunk town. And it was that breakdown that was the most memorable experience of working with a local shop, getting things fixed, taking local jobs to financially get through it. And, all these wonderful things they saw on the road in that year, that was the experience that really taught them the most valuable lessons about you'll pretty much always end up where you're meant to be.
Yeah. Okay. So that right there, and we've kind of been through that exact same mental shift over and over and over again, is something goes wrong, it completely trashes your plans. It's happened to us so many times. An engine blows up, we hit a channel marker, and we cannot go, our plans for the summer when you're going out to Oregon and volunteering and going to this big conference and stuff, literally died on the side of the road in deep out in Montana, miles from even cell signal, with our engine smoking and gushing fluids. And so those plans die, and you got to mourn for them a little bit, but then let them go. It's like what has opened up here? What new adventure might be there once you let go of your attachment to needing to do the thing you had planned on?
So I think that's the first lesson is don't be too attached to plans. It's good to set intentions. It's good to, sometimes you have to make reservations. Sometimes you have to commit in advance to do cool things. But you have to be willing to let go of.
And sometimes you have to then walk away from those pre-scheduled commitments. Like we'd paid to go to this conference. It was thousands of dollars.
1,000.
Okay, $8,000. It was a very expensive conference, and there was no refunds. And suddenly we looked into, like, can we rent a car? Can we fly? Can we still get there? And we're like, well, no, we need to be here. We need to take care of our bus. And in this particular adventure, we turned it around. It's like, okay, our bus needs to have its engine rebuilt. We found a shop that would let us stay on site and basically apprentice and learn how to rebuild an engine and learn how the inside of our engine works. And, it took 6 weeks, right? 6 weeks? 7 weeks.
So who's counting?
Yeah, it was a very long time living in an asphalt parking lot in Billings, Montana, with our engine out. We turned our engine chamber into a sun porch, but we learned a ton in the process. And we got to, go to Yellowstone and experience Billings and do things we never would have even thought to do otherwise.
Yeah. So sometimes I think the Winds posted a great saying the other day on their Facebook page. It was something around the lines of an inconvenience is just really the way you look at an adventure. It was some fancier saying, I'm sure I'm misquoting it. But it's just looking at things as you will end up exactly where you're meant to be and embrace what's there.
And you get to decide where you're meant to be. That's kind of the secret.
Not always.
Well, yeah. Well,
you don't get to decide that you're going to hit a channel marker.
Yeah, retroactively though, you can see like, okay, I'm here and I'm making this my new adventure. This is where I've meant to be now.
And I think it's an attitude that you can have of embracing it as a new adventure, as the next step, instead of feeling like a victim, like bad things are happening to you and that you now have to adjust to them. And that's something that was difficult in our beginning years on the road. Maybe not for you, but for me it was. I remember the first, we're 5 weeks on the road, and we're late for dinner to meet someone that we had made a commitment to. See, schedule's bad. And we ended up hydroplaning and doing a 360 spin with our trailer down an interstate. That was super scary, but we were blessed because we were fine. We were okay.
Very minimal damage. And it kind of led to us getting a much better Jeep. We're like, let's trade this one. We went out to buy new tires because our Jeep's tires were ruined, completely finished off by that spin out, and we ended up finding a better Jeep, and it's like, oh, cool.
Continuing the journey. Yes. But we also learned a very important lesson there, and that's where we came up with the concept of NST, which is the time zone that we like to default living on.
Nomadic Standard Time.
Yep, NST.
Yes.
Which means nomads are meant to arrive precisely when they do, kind of like wizards. And we kind of let our friends and family and people that we're meeting up with on the road know that, so that they don't have the expectations that we're going to be there on a set time. We'll keep them informed and update our status as we're going, but we try to minimize the number of commitments that we have in a year
that are locked in time-wise. Yes.
So that's one reason we don't go to a lot of conferences and present at them. It's like, we love presenting, but I don't like to have a schedule because it leads to stress.
Because both bad things can happen on your way to living out the schedule and good things. You might have something wonderful happen, like an invitation to go do something incredible, and it's bad to have to turn down something good, and it's bad to have to feel like you can't deal with something bad. You're letting go of those kind of attachments to that scheduled having to happen on time. Mm-hmm. It gives you so much more freedom and to deal with challenges.
And then the other mental attitude adjustment that I've had to make is try to remember all the bad things that's ever happened to you in your life, whether it's your own medical issue, it's needing to replace something in your house that got damaged, it was a mechanical issue. How do you feel about those issues now when you look back? Are they really as big of a deal now that you've gotten past them? And I look back at all the crazy things that we've had to deal with and had to in life. I mean, life happens. It's what it's just what happens. is when I look back now, what were like major chapters and major stories are now just sentences in the story.
Right.
There's a small part. You know, this past channel marker incident in the boatyard, 5 weeks on the hard, only 2 of them really dealing with the outcome of the damage. Everything else was optional extras that we
or just manana
mentality. You know, while we're going through it, I mean, that is the center point of what we're experiencing, and it is our focus to get through that experience. But even now that we're out of the yard, we got the house cleaned up a little bit, it's now becoming a paragraph in the story, and soon it will be a sentence. It'll just be something that we reference back to, just like that engine incident.
And in the process, we've learned so much about our boat, and we were able to tackle other things. Yeah, one of the other bits of attitude that I've always tried to take is things don't break; they just jump to the front of the upgrade list. And so it might be completely unscheduled, might be unforeseen, but you know, okay, something is broken. What can I now do to, when we're repairing this, make this better, or take advantage of this time that we're tearing the boat apart, or the bus apart, or the house apart? What other projects can we tackle at the same time in the same mess? Mm-hmm. And in this case, we tackled adding all our new marine electronics and fixed a few other things on the boat. Yeah,
Yep, I took the opportunity to put in our new transducers for our new sonar systems and things like that while we're on the hard. So just try to make the best of the situation and make it better. So those are the mental things that you can do to better prepare yourself for dealing with challenges on the road or in life in general. Yeah. It doesn't matter if you're pursuing a nomadic traveling lifestyle, you know, just in life in general, stuff comes up. But there's also, specifically for being on the road, some things that you can do to make it a little bit easier when these things come up. And I think the first thing is being financially prepared for them. Is having that emergency fund or a credit card open or something that you can use to tap into when these things come up, because you don't know where a mechanical issue or a medical issue is going to happen and what resources you're going to have available to you.
Right. We've seen people living on the road who have no cushions at all, and that really kind of paints you into a corner. It doesn't mean it's impossible. It just takes away so many of your options, because you basically can handle things quickly, or you can invest time, you can invest money, or you can invest skill in getting over a lot of humps, particularly mechanical humps. And depending on how much of each of those things you have, you can really end up with either spending a lot of time, spending a lot of money, or needing to be an expert or hire experts. If you want to do it cheap and fast, you better already be a mechanic.
Or where you break down on the road may not be in a facility where you can do the work yourself. Right. Where we were towed when our bus broke down, you know, we had 2 options. One was to go to basically another bus friend's barn and try to do an engine rebuild on our own, which was a little beyond our skill level at that time. Yeah, probably still is.
Yeah, but we could have potentially done that and done it a lot cheaper and spent a ton of time learning to build an engine. We know people who spent 2 years tackling a rebuild a bus project. We're like, no, we don't want to spend 2 years getting back on the road.
We work full time,
right.
So we have to keep our business going. We don't have the time to spend 12 hours a day taking over a project on our own. So we're happy to. We have income coming in at this point in our life, so we're happy to spend that income right. to hire experts to do the job right.
But we try to strike a right balance where we
learn.
Always, where we learn and we all tackle as much of the projects as we can ourselves that fit in time-wise and skill-wise and money-wise.
Yeah, so that is the other tip on the practical side is know what your resources are. Are they financial? Are they skills? Are they tools? Are they being able to trade services with people to barter your
right.
way through dealing with the issues that can come up on the road? What was another one that we had? I know I had like a whole list in my head.
Well, I mean, we do know people who basically part of their game, part of their challenge for themselves when they head out on the road, whether water or land, is to be prepared for everything. They've got full-on workshops, redundant spare parts for their spare parts, and it's kind of exciting for them to like, haha, I finally get to use this thing I've been carrying around for 7 years. Great. usually you go to a, particularly if you're not trying to travel around the world, you can go someplace nearby and get a tool or a spare part and handle things that way. So you have to strike the balance of what you personally find fun and what you want to haul with you.
Mm-hmm. And what your passions are. We know people who have reached retirement in their travels. Maybe they retired early, and they consider it their job now is to maintain their RV or their boat or whatever they're traveling in. And that's what they consider it. They try to avoid hiring things out unless they absolutely have to. And that's great. I don't have that spare time, though.
Yeah, and on the other hand, we know other people who have more money than sense. And, rather than pick up a screwdriver and spend half an hour on a project, they'll, throw hundreds of dollars and, hire whoever wants to overcharge them the most. And so we know other people who go at it that way, and you got to find your own split
There's
there.
no right or wrong way. There's only the way you want to do it and what you want to be prepared for, and you've got to weigh the pluses and minuses. And I think one other tip is for RVs and for boats, there are options that can help minimize a mechanical issue on the road. Of course, there's preventative maintenance. It's keeping on top of your maintenance so that you can not have things come up because you just didn't care for them. So do know what the preventative maintenance is of your vehicles.
Don't do the stupid things. Yes.
But there's also having a towing insurance package. So with RVs, you've got things like CoachNet or Good Sam or AAA, those sorts of things.
And if you have a vintage bus, you should have at least 2 of those.
We try to keep 2.
Yes.
Or your insurance policy may include something as well. And what these plans do is if you have a breakdown, you have someone to call. And there's 2 advantages to this is, number one, usually your towing, at least, or a roadside mechanic coming to you is covered. Now you're going to still pay labor, you're still going to be paying for getting out of this issue, but you also have someone to consult with to find who the local experts are.
Right. And just, sometimes depending on where you're at, the physical act of getting your bus or your boat or whatever you're getting to a situation where the problem can actually be worked on could be a really, really major challenge and ridiculously expensive if you don't have somebody who's going to foot the bill for you. It's like we've now experienced this twice. The CoachNet, we had our bus tow was over 100 miles through rural Montana they had to put us on a low boy flatbed, and big, huge ordeal. We never saw the bill. It was thousands of dollars.
It was at least $3,000. Now with the boat, we picked up Towboat US to start with. Sea Tow is another one, and apparently they're more prevalent as we work our way north, so we will be picking up a subscription to them as well. And these policies, they're only $150 to $200 a year. We saved $3,000 in a tow bill on CoachNet when our bus broke down. This last tow to when we hit the channel marker to get to Miami, because it was a 25-mile tow to get to the haul out spot where we were going. That bill was over $2,500. And we didn't pay a dime of that because we had the towing insurance. And it was a relief not to worry about that, because all the other expenses, of course, are high too that you're going to be dealing with. But we had someone to call when the shit hit the fan, basically. And we were able to call someone and and say, okay, what is the best thing for us to do at this point?
Okay.
All right, that's enough babbling. I'm gonna go check the chat window. If you guys have questions, we'll hang out for a little bit. If you're one of our patrons, we are having our patron happy hour at 7 o'clock, so in about 30 minutes or so. So we'll be switching over at some point to
40 minutes.
And the cat is eating my dinner.
Oh my gosh. Oh. Yeah, she has a huge piece of chicken in her mouth. Oh, goodness gracious.
Oh goodness. All right.
Yes, things not for cats. How to handle adversity on the road with your cat.
Have a cat around for humor. Good humor goes a long way. Let's see. Okay. So I think for future video chats, I want to have some volunteer moderators who can help us moderate some of these spammers that come into the group.
Oh, we're getting more and more spammers lately. Oh goodness.
Yes.
Oh, somebody's friend made $5,800 in 12 months.
Oh,
wow.
Boy, yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Block. All right. Yes, we are still. So where are we now? We are still still near the Miami airport. We did not go too far. We're still in the Miami River.
But we're floating.
We are on the water. There are still some projects left to do on the boat that the boatyard wasn't able to complete, but they can all be done in the water.
Right.
So,
and in particular, getting the generator fixed is something that needs to be done in the water, not on the hard, because the generator needs cooling water to start. So we've got to solve our generator problem. Hopefully Monday, tomorrow. Yeah. But it does feel so good to be floating again.
Yeah, so yeah, if you want to help out with spammers in the future, Cheryl, I'm going to upgrade you right now to moderator.
And as moderator, okay, there.
I've seen you enough on our chats to know that you're good people who can stay on top of it. Yeah, we definitely, if you see just the spammy stuff, just block them.
Yes.
We have a zero tolerance policy on negativity. So,
yes.
Let's see. What else is there to say? How do we compare the challenges on the water to the challenges on the road?
I'd say very similar. It's
I think some of the challenges on the water can be a lot scarier because so many things can lead to you sinking.
And you can't hit the brakes on the water. You know, with an RV, you can pull over the side of the road and it's done. But then again, on a vehicle, sometimes some of the things that can happen really, really fast. And you know, particularly like somebody swings into your lane, that's coming at you at 60, 70 miles an hour. It's a whole different pace of crisis and disaster there. So yeah, they both have different ways of challenges, but I think they're actually very, very comparable overall.
Let's see. When is the best time to avoid hurricanes? So hurricane season is June 1st through November 30th. So any time not then is a good time to avoid hurricanes. And of course, you want to move that? Okay.
It's festive.
And it also depends upon what area of the country that you're in at the time. So obviously there's strike zones.
Right.
The most active months are August, September, and October. So those are good times to not be in the southeast.
Yeah, we're not going to be in the hurricane zone next year. We've got a plan. Cool.
It's amazing you went from RV to sail. So actually, we didn't go to sail. We're in a motor yacht.
Yes.
So
After this, after the Great Loop, maybe a sailboat. For the Great Loop, a sailboat doesn't make sense. You know, we love sailboats, but for this adventure that we're on over the next several years, the sailboats.
The cat's going to continue to eat my dinner.
She's trying to open the plastic here. You need to come up on and talk about the challenges of starving on the road. There we go.
Oh, goodness.
Look, poor cat.
Yeah, and she can't eat. She's not in the frame. There you go. She's upset because she can't get to my dinner. Oh,
There's
goodness.
chicken under plastic. Oh my gosh.
Let's see. Are we still going to Fort Pierce for more services? So, context was we were on our way to Fort Pierce to handle the electronics upgrade, putting solar and lithium batteries on the boat, as well as doing general annual maintenance and some of the Irma damage. And most of the stuff we handled here in Miami, we still need to,
except for the solar and electrical upgrades, the battery upgrades.
So we have not decided where those will be done. We are actually getting ready to put the boat into storage for a couple of months because we have some non-boat travels, including some RV adventures coming up.
Looking forward to getting back in our bus and going cross country. So that's should be fun soon.
Meow.
Oh, she is an unhappy kitty right now.
Goodness.
That's an interesting question just popped up at the bottom. What was that? We get frustrated when other people don't stick to a schedule, like with our big bus renovation. How do you square that with living on nomadic standard time? That's interesting.
So there's professionals who have a job to deliver things on schedule, and then when you're paying them huge dollars,
you kind of expect
them to have at least communication about the issues.
Right. And actually, I think we're probably some of the most flexible people possible to work with is around like, hey, you know, something came up and we need to change the schedule, we need to slip the schedule. But we love it when people tell us that in advance as opposed to us kind of having to dig it out of them or discovering it after the fact. we went through kind of, well, I guess one of the tips that we were going to talk about is dealing with challenges is sometimes it really helps to be there and be on top of things and not kind of trust that they're just going to happen on autopilot with somebody else managing. And we went through that with our bus renovation project. We thought we were being smart. We're going to let the project happen while we're off doing a different trip. And it basically, we got back from the trip and had to then start the project from scratch, managing it from the ground up, and a disaster it had become. So
yeah. So the point of the bus renovations was they had promised a delivery schedule of 7 weeks, or actually about 2 months, to do what we asked of them. And when we got back from our other adventure, they basically had gutted our bus, done damage to it, and were holding it hostage.
And we still had 2 months left.
And I think it's okay to be frustrated over that, especially when you are paying a company $70,000 to do this job.
Yes. Right. And we were very understanding of some of the things that happened that were out of their control and stuff like that. But the lack of communication was what really frustrated us.
They lied to us in several cases. So, yeah, communicate with us. Like the shop here at Sea Lab, when we had the boat renovations going on, we had daily communication with them. Yeah. And there's the mañana attitude, which really does fit in well with Nomadic Standard Time. Yeah,
but it was kind of frustrating to have, that this is going to get taken care of mañana, tomorrow.
Or this afternoon.
And the next day be like, we're going to do that mañana. You said that the day before. And that was kind of frustrating. It's, I'm totally down with schedule slipping, but I want to just talk to me in advance.
When you're living in a difficult situation, like being on the hard, where you don't have air conditioning and it's hot here in Miami, you can't use your own bathroom, you can't take a shower, you can't do all these things, and the schedule keeps getting stretched out from things beyond your control. There's justification for being frustrated.
Yeah, and actually allow yourself. Actually, that is a very important tip for dealing with challenges on the road. Is allow yourself to be frustrated. Allow yourself to vent a little bit, and get it out of your system to get back to that positive. Like, I'm making progress. I'm understanding other people's stuff. Space, but you can't bottle it up inside indefinitely. You have to let that boil over. Cherie in particular needs an outlet to boil over on occasion.
And that was invaluable for us. So our patrons, thank you for joining in. They got to hear day by day what was going on in the yard and the challenges we were facing and the details of it. And just having an outlet, a safe outlet to say that, not in a whining space, not in a venting space, to say, hey, this is what we're dealing with, and have people reflect back with, hey, that would anger me.
Yeah, and actually in the hurricane, that was actually, I mean, the hurricane is a huge challenge. There's not a lot we can do just yelling and screaming in the storm. We don't want to come up on the big public YouTube to be full of ventiness, but we shared that just with a smaller audience and patron, just to get it out of our system so that when we came time to do the bigger updates, we were a lot more positive. Yeah.
It's good.
Yeah.
It's
Let
good
yourself vent. Yeah.
It's good to have people to talk to, and when you're on the road, you don't necessarily have your friends community to talk with on a daily basis. Right. So, the patron community has been wonderful. So we really, really appreciate our patrons joining us over there and being more involved in the daily stuff that we are going on.
Yes, because you leave yourself a place that you can be negative without letting the negative consume you.
Yep. So some questions are if we're going to the RTR this year. So that's the Rubber Tramp Rendezvous that's held out in Quartzsite. That's in January.
It's a great gathering.
It is. We've stopped by several times. We usually, when we do Quartzsite, we usually stay with the Escapers community because we helped found that community. So our hearts are there. But this year, no, we will only be going as west as about Austin, Texas this year. We are presenting at the end of February at the RV Entrepreneur Summit this year. And that's about as far west as we're going to get because the goal with the boat is come this spring, we are going to be at least up to the Chesapeake by August 1st, which is the peak of hurricane. When peak of hurricane season starts to pick up.
So and then eventually our goal is to do winters in the bus in the Southwest and boating in the summers. So we'll be kind of dividing our time. So we're looking forward to a little RV trip coming up this winter.
Paul asked, do we use an app for nighttime anchor tracking? So an anchor alarm.
Yes. Yeah, we use an app called I think it's just called Anchor.
There's
Anchor
one
exclamation
Anchor. There's
point.
also a Drag Queen, which
Yeah.
I love the name of that.
Yeah, but we've not actually tried Drag
No.
Queen. Yeah, we use one just called Anchor or Anchor Alarm. It's a pretty decent app. I think actually we've got some Anchor Alarm modes built into our new electronics we need to go learn how to use. But you definitely want something that will let you know if you start to move unexpectedly.
Oh, absolutely. We usually set multiple of them, one on each of our phones or iPads, so that they're always around the boat, so that they're always audible to us. We just have to learn when we go take a dinghy ride to unset it because it starts going off.
It's kind of almost. Yeah, it would be surprising if we went on a dinghy ride and didn't have an alarm go off in one of our pockets as we pulled away from the boat. It's like, what's going on? Oh yeah, Anchor Alarm.
Let's see. Other question says, is it harder to plan or obtain provisions on the water than in the motorhome? So obviously when you're in a motorhome and you're driving between locations, you can just pull into a grocery store parking lot and stock up. Or we have our Mini Cooper, which we tow behind the motorhome, to go out and run those sorts of errands.
So far we've only run into one grocery store with a dock, so it's a little bit harder to provision directly by boat. But we've actually stayed at marinas that are walking distance to great grocery stores, and I love that. But...
And trick we learned, and living on the hard, is we're working all day, both with our business, running the Mobile Internet Resource Center, and keeping up with our crews, and particularly with Chris, he was working with our electronics staff to do the electronics installations. So we're working, we're pretty much getting up at 7 a.m. and we're working until 7 p.m. when, various crews coming in and off the boat. Yeah. We didn't have time for grocery shopping.
So Instacart to the rescue. We first experienced with Instacart, and here in Miami, it's been working wonderfully.
So grocery delivery. So I just go online to Publix Instacart settings, ordered what we want, and within an hour to two, groceries appeared on our swim platform, and we did that several times, and that was a saving grace for us because that took one of those logistical things out, and we always had fresh produce and the fresh things that we could keep healthy with and keep happy with, and wine. Wine's very important.
They deliver wine. Apparently they'll deliver whiskey too, so
so that was fabulous.
Okay.
Russell asks, how do you do such a good job of not being affected by negative comments? Some bloggers let it change their whole demeanor.
You haven't been watching long enough.
We don't blog for dollars. We blog for positive engagement.
Right.
And we do this because it's fun for us. And we have gone through spells with negative comments. And we actually shut down social media for a while. It got so bad for a bit.
That's about 2 years ago, right?
Almost 3 years ago.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. So, and one of the best ways to defend against that we've taken is basically a zero tolerance. We're not going to argue with somebody who's negative or who's somebody who's even if they might not be a spammer or a legitimate troll, they're just being a pissy person. We're not going to respond. We're just going to delete their comment and take them out of eyesight as soon as we see it, before we even finish reading it, and that helps.
We just came to the mental conclusion that people who are commenting negatively are either doing it for their own reasons, or they're not commenting about us. They're commenting on their perception of us, which is different. And those of you who have followed along for a while know us, and when we're having a bad day, or we might say something out of key, or that we're real people with real emotions. And we have our ups and downs, and we try to share the reality of it all with you guys. And we know that there are drive-by commenters who come through who don't have the full perspective on who we are.
They just see a little YouTube alert, and they pop in, and they're like, who are these people? What do they know? And blah, 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 blah. And they might say something, personal or attacking, or, some people seem to enjoy trying to get a rise out of turn comment threads into arguments. And, we just head it off as quickly as we can.
Delete them. We have a zero tolerance policy. We no longer put up with it. We no longer engage. And life is a lot better because we find that if there are no negative comments in the thread, other people aren't inclined to leave them either, because it's a positive space, and that's what we strive to have. Is we want to be surrounded by positive people.
Yeah. And that's not censorship, because they can go on their own channel and say whatever they want.
Let's see.
Do you find free Wi-Fi at every marina? We got so many different cellular options, we hardly ever bother to try Wi-Fi both at campgrounds and marinas, although actually I think we've seen almost every marina we've been at has had some sort of free Wi-Fi.
Right.
We've just our cellular's so good that we don't bother.
Yeah, we long ago gave up on public Wi-Fi. It's just for this sort of stuff, doing video casts, and we do a lot of video work. We love to stream our Netflix in the evening too, and watch other people's YouTube content. Marina or campground Wi-Fi is rarely up to the snuff for that, so we just skip it.
Yep.
Let's see.
How long do you hope to have the loop completed the first time? We're multi-years, so it's going to take a while.
Yeah, we want, so our intentions is we're going to do it over several years. As we get north, the cruising season gets shorter because it gets apparently cold up there.
Well, although I think maybe picking up the pace slightly from what we've been on might be good, because making it from Marathon to Miami, then getting stuck again, and I'd like to get further than Fort Lauderdale before we stop for another month next time. So
please, that'd be great.
Yes.
So our intentions are by August we'll be up from, we're in Miami now. We hope to be up at least the Chesapeake by August is the goal.
A lot of people do the loop every year or in a year, and that's just not the pace we want.
Typical is 9 months to 12 months to get it done, and you follow it by the seasons. We've been on the road for almost 12 years now, and when we're RVing, we typically only do 6,000 or 7,000 miles in a year. That's a sustainable pace for us to be able to stay places long enough to actually experience them and get our work done. Because remember, we're working full time. This YouTube stuff is not our job. This is all just for fun. We have full-time jobs, and it's just too quick of a pace to try to do it in 1 year, because it's 7,000 cruising miles, 6,000 to 7,000. And when you're going only 6 or 7 knots, that's more like 35,000 RVing miles as far as the time it'll take. So we're going to split it up over multiple years. I would not be surprised if it's 5 or 6 years before we're done with the loop. But we'll be returning to the RV in the winters, which will be in the warmth.
Yep. So question from John is, living on the hard mean our boat's in dry dock and we're in a motel, or are we actually living on the boat in the dry dock? In our case, it was living. We were up on stilts and we had to climb a ladder to and from our boat and to get down to go to the bathroom and everything else. It was it was kind of an ordeal. Although we looked at it as, hey, we're living in a treehouse. It's there's an upside to it. It's kind of fun to be high up, looking down on everything.
And as we'd love to help fund your patron site, but we're trying to limit our monthly commitments for the future when we're nomadic. I love hearing that you've got a future being nomadic. Ann.
Awesome.
Do they allow annual donations? And unfortunately, no, that is not part of the patron model. They are monthly, but we haven't set it just $1 a month. We did that because for us, it's not about funding.
Right.
It's about creating that closed community for us. And that small bar to entry keeps the trolls out. It keeps those who have an investment in us in there.
Nobody's going to pay us $1 a month to be negative and bitchy.
If they are, well, then I can block them.
Yes. Right. And Paula asked if we were able to get out and about in Miami as the boat was being fixed, and we did. We spent a couple days in Miami Beach, got an Airbnb to take a break from the boatyard, and that was actually really cool. We saw family for Thanksgiving further up the coast, took the train up further up Florida, and then we did a little bit of touristy things. We went out and saw the Wynwood District and been out in Coral Gables for dinner. And Miami's it's kind of a neat city. And
it's been a fun place to base camp out of.
We haven't gotten out nearly as much as we should have, though.
We're too tired. It exhausted us, honestly, dealing with the boatyard stuff. Left us mentally drained, and we're still dealing with it. We've only been off in the water now. This is going on night 3.
Yes.
And we've been getting the house cleaned and reorganized, trying to catch up on work.
Yeah, this is the first time the house has been relatively clean in
5 weeks.
Well, even in some cases since the hurricane. I finally got the pilot house put together and stuff cleared out of the guest room since the hurricane. It's just been piled up to the ceiling in there. So the house, we're finally getting ourselves back to sane.
We're getting there, yeah. And then, unfortunately, I really would, in an ideal world, we would have been back on the water at least a week earlier. So we'd have 2 full weeks before the holidays, because we're doing holiday travels. We have some vacation booked in January. We have a book to rewrite for 2018, the Mobile Internet Handbook. This is, part of what we do for our job, and is helping RVers and cruisers stay online as they travel. So that book has to be written and completely updated, and we're trying to work our way through that. So we got a lot on our plate in the upcoming months, plus needing to get out to Texas for the RVer Entrepreneur Summit and repositioning the bus more mid-country. So we got a lot ahead of us, and it's daunting to think about. But hopefully we can get
There's a video about dealing with adversity on the road you should watch.
I'll go
How
watch
to get
that
past
later.
That daunting
maybe
feeling.
I can get past that, yeah. So asking about the generator. So the generator had gone out the morning before we hit the channel marker.
Go back a few videos and just watch kind of what got us into this mess in Miami.
And actually, we have the produced travelogue coming out early this week about the segment of the Tropical Storm Philippe, the generator going out, and the channel marker all in one episode. And we managed some pretty footage in it too.
Yes. yes. Yeah, we caught our reactions very shortly after the channel marker, and we got the engine flopping around. We got some good footage there. So, that video goes live.
Yeah,
soon.
well, patrons already have access to it. But yeah, the video, I got to write the blog post, and then once the blog post is written, then I'll release it all to the public. And then we'll have one more episode of the Miami Boatyard experience,
and then back to RVing.
And that'll close out the Great Loop Season 1. We'll be considering if we even continue doing travelogues going forward, because they're a heck of a lot of work, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to keep up with it. Let's see.
And yeah, we are in a marina right now, so we have shore power at the moment.
Yes, we are on shore power right now. Our mechanic is, since we're back in the water, and they can actually, because it's water cooled, so it has to be in the water to be diagnosed with what was going on with it. So he's coming over tomorrow morning.
I suspect it's the fuel pump. We'll find out tomorrow, because we can finally test it.
Hopefully it's just a short thing. People ask me about the Patreon link. It's just patreon.com/technomadia. On our channel, there's a link to it as well.
All right. Putting in the chat.
Let's see. There's questions about what are about our fuel range and stuff like that. So we've got 440 gallons on board. We have only traveled about 330 miles
since we bought the boat.
We bought the boat, so we don't have enough raw data to actually have numbers that we can trust giving out. We think it's somewhere between 1.5 to 2 miles per gallon, or about 3.5 to 4 hours. Gallons per whatever.
It's for a boat, a lot depends on how fast you go. We like to go really slow, so 7-8 knots is a great speed for us, and that's a very fuel efficient speed.
So we are tracking the numbers, but remember, we're slowpokes and we have a huge fuel tank. So to get usable numbers, we have to go through a couple fuel tanks and average it out with generator costs. So it's not like this information is just on demand. It's not like we're trying to withhold it or anything, but it's just we don't have the data yet. We haven't done enough miles.
Somebody's waiting for us to get our ham licenses. We actually got those years and years ago. We just had never really used them.
Yep, we had our ham licenses in 2008, I believe we got them.
Yeah, which means we got to renew them next year. I
think so. And honestly, I've never seen a use for it.
It's not our particular hobby. We know people who love doing the ham stuff. It's just we're internet communication people.
Yep. Does the book cover Canada?
It's got a chapter on traveling into Canada and stuff.
Yeah, but it's all online. You can go to rvmobileinternet.com/Canada, and it's got all the tips.
We brought that chip online. That whole chapter is online.
So now. The book, we're rewriting it to be more of a primer. So a lot of the content's now going to be online, and the book's going to be focused just on the basics. Keeping up a 240-page book with this much information is too much, especially now that so much of the content's online.
Yep.
So, all right. So
we should wrap this up so we can.
Yes. Let's see if there's any other. There's a question: are we going to be traveling the Northeast in Zephyr again? So Zephyr is the name of our bus. Our Northeast travels will be focused now on boat travels. So that a lot of the Great Loop is going to be the Northeast. Yeah,
we're going to spend a lot of time up there. Looking forward to boating and Lake Champlain, and we want to go up, maybe up into New England by water too.
The bus will be positioned eventually out in the Southwest, because we love spending winters in the desert Southwest. So our RV travels will be winters and fall, and boat travels will eventually be spring and summer. So we'll be balancing it that way for the next few years. And we loved RVing in the Northeast, and we're really looking forward to boating in the Northeast.
Yes.
So. Okay. We are going to go ahead and end this. Thank you for joining in. Patrons, we'll be seeing you in about 15 minutes over in the happy hour and hang out some more.
Yeah, that's actually a two-way video chat, so that's kind of a whole different kind of fun than we can have in this YouTube text chat stuff.
Yeah, it's a video interactive thing on Zoom, which we love doing those and getting to know our patrons as well. We like it to be a two-way street as well.
We can see them and talk to them. It's kind of fun.
Yep,
You don't have to be on video, but we like it.
All right, so guys, thanks for joining in. Happy holidays. I don't know what other videos will be coming out before the holidays. We hope you have a wonderful, wonderful season, and we'll continue sharing as we have time and availability.
Okay, let's end this broadcast.